When an army forms a line, the greatest danger doesn't always come from the enemy across the battlefield. Often, the most devastating damage happens when someone inside the ranks decides to point their weapon in the wrong direction. Long-serving Republican incumbents in Minnesota are currently facing an aggressive wave of primary challenges and public attacks fueled by members of their own party. At the center of this crossfire is Minnesota Citizens Concerned for Life, or MCCL. For decades, they have operated as the state's most prominent pro-life organization. They operate far beyond sideline activism. They are the historical architects of the state's pro-life legislation, having drafted and successfully passed foundational laws over a span of 50 years. Real political power depends on these historically proven legislative strategies. When established organizations are targeted by those within their own movement, the resulting infighting risks dismantling the very infrastructure that passed those laws in the first place. The instigator of this current internal conflict is freshman state senator Nathan Wesenberg. Instead of collaborating with established allies, he has spent years running a relentless smear campaign against MCCL. A freshman senator attacking a major pro-life organization aligns with the specific incentives of the modern attention economy. For a certain brand of politician, creating manufactured outrage against a supposed ally is a highly effective way to game social media algorithms. It drives engagement, generates viral moments, and fills campaign coffers. Writing effective laws requires quiet, methodical coalition building. Shouting conspiracy theories into a camera is fast, easy, and guarantees an audience. When an elected official decides that farming metrics and feeding their own ego is more important than advancing a collective legislative goal, they stop being a partner. They become a dangerous liability to their own side. The breaking point happened here, at the Minnesota State Capitol in 2023. The legislature was preparing to vote on the PRO Act, a piece of high-stakes abortion legislation. MCCL strategy used targeted amendments to expose opponents' extreme stances. But Wesenberg disrupted this unified plan with a sweeping amendment that had zero chance of passing. MCCL warned this was a trap that Democrats would weaponize against vulnerable Republicans. Instead of debating the merits of this warning, Wesenberg lost his temper. He kicked the MCCL representative out of his office and permanently severed communication. Effective governance requires the maturity to navigate a complex legislative minefield. Walking straight into an obvious trap simply to look ideologically pure for a social media audience ultimately hands the opposition exactly what they want. To cover for his strategic blunder, Wesenberg launched a bizarre and escalating disinformation campaign against MCCL across his social platforms. First, he claimed that the state's oldest pro-life organization somehow does not believe that life begins at conception. The facts show otherwise. MCCL drafted Minnesota's 1973 Human Conceptus Act, which legally recognizes life at conception. To push his false narrative, Wesenberg actually posted a blatantly AI-generated fake screenshot claiming MCCL supported a pro-abortion bill. Next, Wesenberg escalated his attacks, accusing MCCL of supporting taxpayer-funded abortions. The historical record proves him wrong. MCCL helped pass a strict ban on taxpayer funding in 1978. A 1995 state Supreme Court decision forcefully mandated Medicaid funding for abortions. Judicial authority forced the state's hand, not the legislative votes Wesenberg attacked. Finally, Wesenberg reached peak desperation, posting claims that MCCL actively supports child rape. When a lawmaker's talking points devolve from legitimate strategic disagreements into AI-generated forgeries and grotesque smears, it shows a complete detachment from reality. It becomes a reckless pursuit of internet clout at any cost. This kind of online behavior doesn't stay confined to social media. It causes severe, real-world political damage. Disgruntled primary challengers are now taking Wesenberg's fabricated claims and weaponizing them on the campaign trail. These internal smears are actively endangering the seats of some of the most reliable and effective conservative incumbents in the Minnesota legislature. This data visualization shows MCCL's actual impact. In recent elections, their political action committee successfully turned as many as 5 state House races in favor of pro-life Republicans. They serve as a vital bulwark against the very candidates Wesenberg's rhetoric empowers. By tearing down the organization that builds and protects these majorities, Wesenberg is doing the opposition party's work for them, free of charge. Political effectiveness is measured by historical receipts and the protection of the pragmatic strategies that actually win elections. Sustaining a movement depends on recognizing which leaders are building power and which are simply seeking an audience.